Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Christina and I are so excited that we're going to be working with Wendy Anderson today from New Zealand. So we're doing this Zoom video to share her work, and she's going to be teaching Christina and I how to make her beautiful carnation. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Wendy, and let's get going.
Okay, well, this is a lot of fun. I love making carnations. It is great for when you have terrible crepe paper. So I want to show you, I want to take a minute and welcome you to New Zealand for a start. As you can see, welcome to New Zealand. Right now outside on my decking, it's 24 degrees, which in Fahrenheit is 76 degrees. So it's going to get hotter than that, guys. So I'll move that out the way. But I wanted to just take a moment and show you some New Zealand crepe paper. So basically you have different types. The two main brands that I can get for $1 are Superior brand and Deluxe brand. So I'll hold that up to there. There's the Deluxe and the Superior. And there. So what you get is the Deluxe has a little bit of crepe to a little bit of stretch to it. It gives you a very little bit of stretch and then it rips. Whereas the Superior, that has a tiny bit of stretch, but this is what you get. No matter what you do with your flowers, you're not going to get any flexibility there, guys. So this is why my carnations are so great for making with New Zealand crepe paper. So that's the brands there that I've got. Now that actually looks blue on the screen to me. That is actually purple. So what I've also got to show you is the metallics we can get. Again, they come in different brands. Now the Superior one here, this is a gold. It is a very fine one, has a very little stretch. And in the Deluxe range, the silver is the same. It has very little stretch. Two different brands. But when you get to the beautiful color range that they have available, now, where do I need to put this so you guys can see it? There we go. So there's absolutely gorgeous colors there. They have more stretchability, but they are white on the back. So you only got the sparkly metallic color on the top, and they are white on the back. So that's what we can get here in New Zealand. So what I would like to do is, I would like to start, first we're gonna tell you what we're gonna use. We're gonna use a glue gun. We're going to use some good old twisty tie from the garden. We'll be using glue sticks with the glue gun, of course. I will be using, for the more technical side of things, a pair of what we call long nose pliers. I have a bamboo skewer. I have a pair of scissors. I have a small amount of Italian 180 gram crepe paper. I do have some floral tape, the paper floral tape, but I will be using crepe paper today. And I think that's it. Oh no, there's a piece of wire here. There's a 180 gram piece of wire here, and it has gone hiding, so I will cut another one if I have to.
While you're doing that, you show us that crepe paper. You can get the traditional crepe paper like we use here in the US, is that correct?
Yes, I can. I import it. I import mine from Ukraine, actually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it
it
comes all the way from Ukraine. For me, although Spotlight in New Zealand and Australia, Spotlight carries Leah Griffith.
okay, I was going to ask you, do you get the Leah Griffith, and then you get the Cardi Technica Rossi as well, right?
Yes, 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 absolutely. So I've just cut myself there a 18 gauge wire, and I've cut that at 30 centimeters. So I'm going to give you those measurements as we go. So to start with, what we're going to have is, and if I turn it up that way, we are going to be using New Zealand crepe paper. Can you guys see these numbers?
There you go. That's great.
Yes, yes.
This is what we're going to cut from the New Zealand crepe paper. Okay, so I'll sit that there for a minute. So what I'm going to do, and this is a really big big pointer with these, the packets, when you open them, are sealed with double-sided tape. Always fold that over, because with New Zealand crepe paper, as you pull that out of the packet, if it sticks to that double-sided tape, it's going to rip. And it's going to rip pretty quick, and we don't want that. So I always fold that over. I'm going to cut that on my cutting mat at 10 centimeters. So I'll give you those measurements again. I'm just going to cut that first.
And how in inches, how many inches is 10 centimeters?
So the 10 centimeters
6 inches.
equate.
Okay, 6, got it. Perfect.
I need to go to this
Yours is 4
side.
inches.
So it's 4 inches wide is what I've just cut off. No, I need to go that way. There you go. So it's 4 inches wide. Now, when you open this up and you unravel it, what you're going to do is you're going to cut that into 8 lengths. Now, I've got one here all ready to go. Already folded into its, and it's unfolded.
So you use the entire fold of the.
I'm using the entire fold, and I folded that 3 times to get my 9.5 inches.
Okay.
So, and it's 24 centimeters or 9.5 inches long. So I'm going to cut that through all of those layers. And that's going to give me, oops, through there, that's going to give me 8 lengths. So again, that is 4 inches wide and 9.5 inches long. Okay, and I've just lost my wire. Oh, I found my fence wire.
Oh no.
It was on the floor, guys. There we go. So what I'm going to do is, in this particular case, I'm only going to use 2 of the yellow, and I'm going to introduce some orange. You need 4 pieces. Now, for this particular tutorial, this time I'm going to mix the colors so that you can see, as I make it, the different layers as it's being made. So we need 4 layers total. So I could have done it all the lemon color, I could have done it all orange, but I'm doing it alternately just for this tutorial. So as I make it, you can see the layers as I'm making it. So I'm going to turn that lengthways to me, and now in New Zealand we call this a concertina ring, but I believe, Susan, you told me it's called accordion fold. About the width of your finger, your index finger, we're going to go in there and we're going to accordion fold, or concertina as I call it, that paper
alternatively. So
yeah,
I'm alternating it backwards and forwards. The other option is, you can, as you get better and better at it, I learn how to just do it once, and I don't do the double fold at the same time. So at this point, this is where I can choose, because I've done 2 different colors, I can choose, do I want that yellow on the top, or do I want to turn it over and do I want to have the orange on the top? That's going to determine what the center of my flower is going to be. So this time, I think I might make the yellow the center. So I'm going to take a piece of twisty tie, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it in half over the middle of that. Now I'm starting to think you're not going to be able to see very well. What if I put the white paper under it? That might make it a bit easier for you all to see. So here we go. So what I've done is it is folded in half. There's the twisty tie. And it's folded in half like that. And I'm going to twist it until that twisty tie is twisted all the way down. Now, I want you to note that when you pull out the accordion fold, when you pull it out like so, to take note that the stem is going down this way.
So the yellow is the top, correct?
Not this way.
Okay.
So we want it to be the stem is going down. The stem is going down to here, and the accordion fold is coming around like that. Okay, so the first thing you do is you take that first layer. So for me, it's the yellow, and I'm just going to gently go around and pull it up to the center where that twisty tie is, and it's going to basically cover the twisty tie. You're not going to see it. Then I'm going to go the other side and do exactly the same thing. Left, then right. Like so. And it lifts it up to the middle, and now you can no longer see that twisty tie in the middle. Now, before I forget, this is where we're going to add our bamboo skewer. So the skewer is 20 centimeters long. You can get these in New Zealand in many lengths, but this one is an 8-inch bamboo skewer. So that's what I've chosen to do today. What I didn't do is I needed to put it in here where that twisty tie is. We need to get the sharp end and we need to put it in there. So I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue and I'm going to put it in there.
You could use a wire, could you not?
You could. This is the very, very basic of what I do. Okay. So we're going to make 2. This is the very, very basic. We're going to use wire in the second flower.
Okay.
And so I will get it right there next time. So what I'm going to do with this though is I'm going to wrap that twisty tie around the bamboo skewer just at the top underneath there, just to get it out of the way. Just my hands in the way. So all I've done is I've wrapped that twisty tie stem around the top of the skewer. So there we go. So we go back to taking the second layer, and because I've made it orange, you can see that this one now, you pull it up as close as you can to the layer before. Like so. And then go to the other side and do the same second layer. Now there is a reason for doing this. If you do all the left and then all the right, you get a definite line down your flower. So there's a very, very good reason for going alternately. Once you've done your second layer, you do your third and your fourth, of course, until you have completed the bloom. So for me, it's gone yellow and yellow on the other side. So when it's made, when I stand it upright, you're going to see the marble effect that it gets. The last layer is very, very easy to do because you're just basically pulling it up. And you want that last layer to be flat. So I'm going to come back in and I'm just going to draw those petals down. Now I can see my flower is uneven in places. So I'm just going to use my scissors and just give it a wee haircut where I see the paper's just not quite right. That's me being a perfectionist. But if you do choose to do this, do remember that it's not going to grow back. It's not like a haircut. So don't trim too much. Cut more if you have to. Cut less paper and cut more times than cutting too much by only cutting once. So there is a marble carnation. If I move that camera up a bit, can you see?
Yeah.
Which way do I have to go? There we go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
So there we go. I'll put the tripod back down again. There we go. So that's basically our basic carnation. So what I have then done with the green crepe paper, I've got again cut straight across like I showed you with the pink I cut off, but this time I've cut it into strips. And what I'm going to do is what we all do. I'm going to put a bit of glue on that twisty tie right at the top. And I'm going to put that paper onto there. And I'm just going to twist. And we slowly work our way down the stem, of course, to the bottom. I always go down the bottom and come back up again. And I just rip the end off, add a wee bit of glue in there, and that is a basic. Which way do I have to go for that? My camera's backwards.
That's it.
My camera's backwards. So that is a basic carnation. And like I said, it looks the marble effect because I've done the two different colors. So let's do the more technical one where we're going to use a little bit of the Italian crepe paper.
Okay.
So I shall put that one aside, and I'm going to do this one in purple. So like I said, when you cut the strip off the New Zealand crepe paper strip, you get 8 sheets. You only need 4. So this time I'm going to do it all a solid purple. I know this is looking blue to you on my computer screen anyway, but this is actually a very, very beautiful, vivid purple. So I'm going to turn it around, and we're going to do exactly the same thing again. So I was flicking it backwards and forwards doing the accordion fold, but like I said, you can judge sometimes, and you can I just do the one. And I'm just exactly like I just did with the other one until you get to the end. And that's, like I said, that is about the width of your index finger.
Right.
The width of your index finger. So we take our twisty tie, just like we did before, up and over the top. And
I have a question for you, Wendy.
yeah.
Doing your concertina folds, are you making sure that the ends are both pointed the same way? Like the ends are both pointed up when you're done, or do you have one up?
No, I'm not. No, because in the end, because you pull it from here up to the center, you don't need to. You don't notice. It's all going to be in the middle of the flower, and so you're not going to see that at all. So once it's actually made, with this paper, it can be very, very easy to rip. So what I find is I keep making it. I leave the rip in there and I continue making the flower, because afterwards the bit that has ripped, that is sticking up, you can trim with your scissors and nobody actually knows it's in there. The other petals hide, that rip that you've made. So this is not just for New Zealand crepe paper. I've used this from tissues, from a tissue box. I've used it for serviettes, paper serviettes. I've had some serviettes that were ombre color, actually. They were beautiful, pink on the outside and white in the middle, and the effect that that gave was absolutely an amazing color. That is very, very easily ripped too. It's just like tissue, and it just rips very easily.
Right.
So, but then in what you're saying, for my one, this side, there's the cuttage on the top. The other side, yes, that is on top, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
There is no right or wrong way. At this point, you can trim it if you think that the edges aren't even, so you don't have to cut it later. You can cut that now if you wanted to. I like to do it after the bloom's made. So we're just going to go ahead, and I'm just going to remind you that the stem is going this way, and it's going to open that way. But before we do, we're going to put our wire in, which is what I didn't do in the one before when I did the bamboo skewers. So here's my 30 centimeter wire. It's an 18 gauge. It's 30 centimeters long, and it is 12. So for you, that's 12 inches. But you can make this as long or as short as you want. You don't have to make it the 12 inches that I'm doing just because I'm doing it. You make that as long as you want, and then whenever you apply that flower to whatever arrangement or bouquet, you can cut that to length. But if you're doing a small arrangement or a little posy and you want them shorter than that, absolutely don't stick to my measurements for the stem. You do what is right for you. So for today, I'm using a 12-inch gauge, 18 gauge wire. So I'm going to, this is where what I call long nose pliers, and I'm going to bend the end of that over and squeeze it shut. Now that, the purpose of that is, if I bring that up closer, can you see that?
That's good.
That is so that when I glue it in here, it's going to give that glue purpose. If it's just a straight piece of wire, that bloom can pop off so easy. So I'm going to come in here with my glue. I'm going to pop it on that twisty tie, and I'm going to squash that little loop that I've made in the wire into the glue. And because I'm using a cool temperature glue gun, I can put my thumb on that glue straight away, and I'm winding that twisty tie stem around the top of my 18 gauge wire stem, like so. And I can just peel my finger out. So I know a lot of people use hot glue guns. I don't recommend that you put your thumb on that straight away. You're going to burn yourself. I love my cool temperature gun, but I have the hot temperature gun too. It's different applications, different glues. So from here, I'm going to have to go on a bit of an angle because the stem is longer than what the bamboo skewer was. But this is where we come and we open up that concertina or accordion fold into a round circle, just like I did the first time. Both sides need that to be nice and open because that's where it can rip if you don't have that open enough. So I'm going to start with the first layer, double checking that it is my first layer. There we go. And I am pulling that up to the center. So I'm not actually holding the stem as I do this either. I'm actually holding the other petals. So don't try and hold the stem while you do this. Hold the other petals, and we're bringing that right up to the center. I'm going to the second side and I'm pulling that up. Going around, and there you go. I just ripped it.
Nobody will ever know, right?
Yeah.
The expert. The expert of making carnations from New Zealand crepe paper. has just ripped it. But like I said, once we're finished, I'm going to trim that so no one's even going to know that's there. So I'm going to start back up again and do my second layer. And again, we want to bring that up as high as we can to the base of the one we've just done before. My hand is getting in the way, isn't it?
It's fine.
You're good.
Okay,
This,
so if I do
this
it,
seems
there
very
it
similar
is.
to the tissue paper, like pom-pom flowers that we made in grade school.
Right.
At least here in the
Yes.
States, I don't know.
Yes. Now, if you actually used 8 layers instead of 4, like I'm suggesting, you could make this a pom-pom.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the 4 layers that are the extra 4 layers would go down,
Right.
rather than up. So I'm now doing my 3rd layer, just working my way around. On the second side, working our way around. It's just a matter of just going around and around in a circle. So the last layer is just pulling it up, because we want that bottom layer to be flat. Those bottom ones, the bottom of the carnation is flat. So when I turn it back up the other way, I don't know if you can see that on the side there. I can see some bits. Can you see my bits sticking out there that I'm going to trim off? That'll be where I ripped it. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to trim that. But don't forget, we do just come back and just pull them gently back down, so that it's not all stuck in the middle at the top. So I'm just going to look at that back again, and I can see that rip I did. I'm just going to trim that out like that. So you can't go wrong with this, because it's just so simple to make. If you make a mistake, put it in the bin and make another one. Because as we say in our community, practice, 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 isn't it? That's where we learn the most, is when you just do it over and over again. Your first flower is always going to be your worst. Your second is always going to be better. So please practice, practice, practice. So what I need to do now, from my tissue box, I didn't actually put this in my list of things to need. I've just taken this tissue, white tissue, out of my tissue box. And in my tissue box, it's got the tissue has a fold. Now I'm wondering if I might take the white paper away in this case, so that you can see on the green mat. Now in this case, a carnation has a telltale bump underneath the bloom where that twisty tie is. So to make that, what I do is I fold. I've taken my tissue, I've folded it on that fold line. I'm going to fold it again, and I'm going to fold it again. Actually, I might even fold it again, I think, because I want my bump. So how many folds was that, guys? That was 2, 3, 4. Was that 3 or 4 folds? That is now the width of my finger.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice and long tissue. What I want to do is I'm going to put a bit of glue up in here on that twisty tie. And I'm going to put that tissue I folded. I do it this way, maybe.
So you could use tissue or paper towel or any kind of, or even crepe if you wanted to.
Absolutely. I've noticed, I have noticed in some tutorials on YouTube that people use toilet paper, prefer to use toilet paper. That's fine, but you can get toilet paper in different grades as well, different plies of toilet paper, and in New Zealand our ply of toilet paper is very thin. We get what is classed as 2-ply So it's only 2 layers of paper and it's not very soft at all. So yeah, so I prefer to use the tissues. But that is a personal preference, absolutely. I'm going to cut that off there. I feel that bump is now big enough. So I'm going to cut that off there. And I'm going to get my glue gun again. I need to replace the stick just to finish that off. And I've just gone around and around and around on the same spot. So I'm just going to put enough glue on there to make that stay down.
Right.
And so we want that to stay up right, nice and high, right up under that bloom. And like I said, I'm very lucky with the cool gun. I can put my finger on that straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually helps to make it cool down much quicker. So you've got your carnation and you've got this bump underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So from here, what I'll do is I'll go back to the white paper again so that you can see what I'm going to do. I'll just pop the carnation aside for a moment. I have the 180 GSM Italian crepe paper. I've got a strip cut here. Now that is 7 centimeters tall. I've cut it for this case. If you're doing smaller carnations, you can have that shorter. If you're doing large installations and you're doing a large carnation, I would make that bigger. But for this particular one, I'm making it 7 centimeters tall, which is 2 3/4 inches. So I'm going to take and it's just what I've cut off. This is too much for what we need, so I'm not going to give you the length. It's just what I have cut off, and I'm just going to outstretch that a bit because that's just too tight. I want that a little bit longer. Okay, so what I want to do, and I don't know if this is what you guys do, but I always cut off that edge because it's really hard to stretch that last little edge. So I always cut the edge off my crepe paper when I outstretch it, because the last little bit that you've held on to is very, very hard to stretch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to probably cut that. And in this case, I am not going to have, yes, I will. I'm going to do that at 7 centimeters. I was going to say I won't have that in inches, but I do, because I'm going to make it 7 centimeters by 7 centimeters, which was the 2 3/4 inch by 2 3/4 inch. What I want to do is I want to again concertina these into little folds. So these are going to be the size of your little finger. So can you see how I've done that?
Yes.
So I'm going to do that. I'm going to turn it round. And I'm going to go from the center at the top, and I'm going to do a curve down. I'm going to turn it over and go from the center at the top, and I'm going to curve it down. So it's going to look a little bit like a pointy fence when I open that up. So I guess it's looking like little fingers, I guess, or hills or mounds or what have you. I want to make those cuts a little bit deeper. Just a smidgen. That was not too bad. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to concertina that back up. And what I want to do is I'm going to twist it. Just the top pointy bits. And just relax that back a bit so that I can open it up. Okay, so now we're going to cup just the base of those. Now I can see some parts where, now that I've stretched it, I've cut it out, it's going to look like this. Turn it over. Now that I've done that, the crinkles in the paper, there's some bits sticking out, so I'm just going to cut those bits off. The bits you're not going to avoid because you've cut it before I've stretched it. And this is just me being a perfectionist here.
I feel you.
Do you do that too, Christina?
Of course.
We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't all a little OCD.
A bit obsessive of making sure
Compulsive,
it's all looking good.
Yeah.
My theory is, if I'm going to charge a customer for this, I want to make sure it's right. So what I'm going to do now is, with the actually I'm going to do it that way. I want to fold that the curve of those cups is going down. I want to fold it like this, and that's about, that bottom fold is about the width of my finger, so it's now looking like this. Okay, is that easy? Just, I'm not sure, I'm not looking at my other camera.
No, it's good.
So
It's good.
I've folded that down. I've folded that down because that's the bit that's going to go against our bump. So we're going to start this side, and I'm going to put a bit of glue in here. Can you see how that's going to look as it goes around?
Mhm.
So I'm just adding glue as I go, and that's going to go around and around and around. Until you get it to the other side, and you glue that in. So I think I might have actually made that a little bit too tight. So I'm just going to go back in. Here we go. It's pressing the green sepal out. So I can open up that carnation again. So there's your sepal. So what we need to do now is, I've got some strips of green crepe paper, and we're going to go down our stem. Now I might actually start the first one, I might actually start with a thicker strip, because I want to start on that bump and go over it and then down the stem. So my first strip is actually going to be, and that's just this bloom. I don't know if any of you have listened to the paper talk just recently with Jessie and Quinn. I did issue number 73 and 74, and I said to them, every bloom is different. This is where this comes in. Some are grumpy, some are cheeky, some are serious, playful. I just love the way our blooms are different each time we make them. So I am just going around and around that bump until it comes down the stem. Now I'm going to swap to my thin crepe. I'm going to outstretch that all the way. Outstretch that thin strip of crepe paper. And I'm going to start again. Now this is where you can decide to thicken your stem. You can leave it the same width as what the gauge is. It's completely up to you. The other tip I was going to show you, and where did the glue go to? It's gone and hidden. Here it is. I have found this glue here in New Zealand. Now, don't be fooled by this. This says that it is tacky glue. It is not. It is not the tacky glue that you guys use. It is clear, and it does dry fast, I will admit, and it's what I used on my magnolia tree. I'm just going to put a glob of that down, and I'm going to run my finger down there so that as I go down, that's going to stay on the wire.
Mm-hmm.
So if
By
you're
the way-
using floral tape, you don't need to add the glue, of course.
By the way, I was going to mention that Aileen's does have a clear gel tacky glue. Yeah, I've used it a time or two. It's not my favorite. But if you run into that issue where your glue is pulling the color from your paper when you're creating the chevrons on your leaves, this might be your answer.
That's why I grabbed this one for my tree, and I've added it to the small smaller tube with a more defined tip. The glue that comes out the top at the very beginning, it is brown because the pin that goes in the end, it's been rusting, but it doesn't affect the use of that glue. Once that is gone, stays clear, goes back clear again. And that's what I used to paper mache the magnolia tree that I made. However, it does put the color in your fingers. So I don't know if you can see, my fingers are now yellowy. So that's come out of the green paper. So my fingers were very yellow and black from the brown crepe paper I used on the magnolia tree when I was doing that. But this is now your completed carnation, with one exception. We're going to put in some leaves. So this is the machine lines on the Italian crepe paper are 5 centimeters apart. So I've cut that strip to be between the two machine lines. I'm going to give that a stretch. What's the in inches, guys, for you with the machine lines?
It's about 2 inches or
about 2 inches.
Yeah.
2 inches. So I've stretched that a little bit. And again, I'm going to do the same thing I did for the sepal. I'm going to concertina that, and I want 4, where's my scissors gone? I want 4 leaves for this. So I have, again, concertinaed that into 4, and again, it's a little bit thinner than my little finger. Again, I'm going to go from the top out to the side and back to the center at the bottom. I'm going to go from the middle at the top where I first cut out to the side and back to the center again there. So what I have ended up with is 4 little pointy leaves, like so. Now we're going to take the first one, I'm going to hold it at the base, and with my scissors I'm going to curl it quite tightly so that it curls like so. And I'm going to do that to all 4 leaves. One, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to position that. I put in my glue right, the first 2 are going to be right underneath the bump of my carnation. And I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to put the other one on the other side. Now, in the floral industry, this is what is called kissing. The leaves are kissing because they're facing each other.
Right.
So this is what the effect you're getting.
That's beautiful.
So what I'm actually going to do, because I'm being a perfectionist, I'm going to bring back my green crepe paper strip, out stretching it, and I'm going to use my clear tacky glue put a wee bit up the top there. Which, no, it's actually easier to apply it to the strip. And you just run your thumb down it. And I'm going to wrap around those, the base of those leaves. And I'm going to come down, and it's also thickening your stem, of course.
Because carnations have a pretty thick stem, don't they?
They do. They do. I usually use either strips of crepe paper that are left over, or I will use tubing, the aqua tubing for a fish tank. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add in the second two leaves. These are going to go on the opposite side to the first two. So that's going to go there, and this one's going to go in there. Oh, and I've just dropped them on the floor. These little tykes, they like to get away on you. So I'm going to glue that in there, and I'm going to put that on there. And I'm going to continue down with my green tape. I need to add a bit more glue to the strip. Run my thumb down there, and I'm just going to go down just until it runs out. So there is my completed carnation. So you can see I've got the leaves on the opposite sides to each other. Got the sepal around the bottom. Lovely purple carnation.
That's beautiful, Wendy. Thanks so much for doing that.
So what I'd like to show you too is I pulled out some that I had already made. I know some of you have heard about the archway I did for my dad's 80th birthday in 2019. So some of those carnations I have here. I made this one white, but then I got my Superman, Jason, my husband, and my paper florist assistant, and he spray painted some red paint onto there for me. So it gave it a different effect. The second one is quite a bright yellow, and he sprayed it with red. So it's giving it what I call quite a passion look. The third one is pink paper with pink spray. The fourth one is white paper with pink spray.
So when you say spray, is that what kind of spray are you using on it?
And that one was cream with red. Now I'm saying spray paint. Okay. I can't get the paint that you guys can get. The is it Color Master?
Design Master.
Design Master. Design Master. I can't get the Design Master paints in New Zealand, or I can, but only in certain colors. I think it's gold and silver, and that's about it. So I don't have the benefit of that lovely, lovely paint. So I have to go to either the warehouse or a hardware store. But this paint I bought from a auto store where it's all things cars, and they had this spray paint for touching up parts of cars that you've had a dent, you might have had it fixed, and you just need that right color to be able to touch up the fender on your car. So I bought that, and Jason from quite a distance, because it's quite a heavy paint, so he sprayed it from a very, very long way away, and he has just dusted that. Sometimes we layer that to get it darker rather than doing it darker in one go. It just depends on how we want it, if we wanted a very light, faint color or a very dark color. So I'll show you those again. They all started out with one particular color crepe paper, and then they've been sprayed with either pink or red. Oops, they're all falling over. And you can see the different tones and those blooms.
Those are Lovely. I really enjoy that. When we use Design Master, we have to do it really from a distance too. So that's
Yes,
not
yes,
too far-fetched for us. I did have a question for you. Have
yes.
you ever used pinking shears to, I know a lot of people do that, use pinking shears to on the, when you're trimming up your flower, the
Yes,
petals.
I do. Yes, I
Mhm.
do. I use my mum's pinking shears. Now, my dear mother passed away 24 years ago, and she'd be horrified to know that I'm using them on crepe paper. But yes, I do that, and some craft scissors, but they've got to be of a good quality, because even with the soft New Zealand crepe paper, it just mushes the paper. It doesn't cut nicely. So I tend to use it just with straight scissors, because I know my good scissors are going to cut that paper properly. But yes, if you've got a decent pair of scissors and you want to do different shapes, even just twisting your wrist as you're cutting with a plain pair of scissors can give different look to the
Right.
outer petals.
Right. Well,
So
I know
yeah.
that Christina did a make along, and I wasn't successful in doing a make along, but here's her, and she has to talk in order for her to show up on the screen. So I'll let you take that away, Christina. Oh,
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry. So yeah, this is the one I did, and I did actually take some
Wow.
shears to it, so you kind of see some little jagged edges there. So yeah,
it's beautiful.
Oh, that's fantastic, Christina. I love it.
thanks.
Absolutely love it.
So that's a wrap for today. Thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing your carnation. We've all heard so much about your carnation. I know you've been making them for ever and ever, and they're
30
beautiful to make.
years.
And I'm sure that
30
a lot of
years.
our members are going to be able to take that on. As a reminder, after this tutorial with Wendy, after it's posted to our Facebook page, I'll be following up with another one that has advanced cutting techniques.
Mhm.
And then Christina's going to come in and show us some advanced foliage techniques, which are amazing. And if she speaks, you can see it.
Yeah, if you can see this, that's what I'll be showing you guys how to do. So the advanced coloring here. So it goes from dark to light and then dark to light and then kind of repeated throughout the stem. So yeah.
That is amazing,
Mhm.
Christina. I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. And then after Christina does her foliage, I'm going to come back in and show you some advanced cutting techniques. I might actually, or sorry, coloring techniques. And I don't know if I can reach it. Yep, there we go. And so I made these two carnations, and I know you're not going to believe this, but they're both made with the same paper. It's white, 90 gram, and it's colored with alcohol inks. And it's all in the way that you cut the petals. So we're going to show you some pretty cool things this month, I think, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So thanks so much for joining us today. Christina and I will be back, and we're excited to show you some more carnations. So happy making. Thanks for joining us on the Paper Talk.
Yay.
Bye.